Hello everyone and welcome back to the Zekko football channel. Manchester City are looking to improve their side, if that's even possible, by adding Matheus Nunes. An interesting choice on how to bolster that midfield if you ask me, and today we're going to discuss how he will impact the current Premier League champions. If you are new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe, you like the video and turn on those notifications. If you're not new and you haven't done all those things, please make sure you do them as well. Thank you. And now it's Matheus time at Man City. I think it's pretty safe to say that this Manchester City side is something that we've never seen before. It's something that is unprecedented. They have the ability to keep the ball with the defenders, but also at the same time, they have the dynamism and flair up front of a Haaland, of a Grealish to be able to score goals. The midfield was something that was created from Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan and Rodri. The defensive stability, the ability to find his way into the box, and then that creative outlet to make sure that Haaland got into the goals. However, with the losses of Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan, I think that Manchester City have become something different. I think later on in the season, if they weren't to have replaced them, they would have really felt their losses, and that's an easy thing to say, but not when you consider what they actually added to the team. They've obviously brought in Mateo Kovacic, who is in this side, and that really fills the ball retention part, the recycling of possession, the picking up of pockets of space to allow the play to be continued round and circled onto the different phase of play. But what they're really lacking, I believe, is a drive through midfield. A player like Kevin De Bruyne who is able to pick up the ball, drive with it and then pick a pass and find it down one of the channels. That is a very underrated skill, and I don't think people talk about Kevin De Bruyne's physicality enough. A lot of us tend to look at the way he plays and assume that he just does everything so naturally, when actually the work rate is something that is so incredibly vital, and it's his physicality that allows him to get from one place of the pitch to the other in such a short period of time and still have his head up to be able to pick the pass. I liken it to the game that Manchester City had against Arsenal. He was on the half space, he was here around where this player is, and then he was able to turn, drive with the ball and find Haaland on numerous occasions, even got a goal for himself. So when we're talking about how Manchester City need to progress and how they need to transition away from Kevin De Bruyne, who is 32 years old, getting injured more often, and eventually will need to naturally transition out of this side, we need to think about a couple of things. Creativity is one, of course, but there are a load of players who have that creative aspect. What I'm talking about is the drive that he could have from a lower base in midfield to the end of the penalty area. I think Manchester City is starting to become more of a transition-based side, utilising the defensive stability of Gvardiol, Akanji, Diaz and Walker, and once they do turn over that ball, I think they're going to want to attack as quickly as possible. Erling Haaland's pace is one of the best attributes of him, and although Manchester City tend to dominate the ball, I think the transitional aspect is something they still yet need to work on. Phil Foden did a fantastic job of it against Newcastle, and I thought he was absolutely superb, but it was a once in a few weeks performance, and unless he's going to really up his game into the latter stages of the Premier League season, I think they need something a little bit more. The Kevin De Bruyne-esque run of that driving pace through midfield is something that is lacking currently from this Manchester City setup, and although Grealish has the option to do it going from back to front, I think through the heart of midfield is something that is needed. Enter Matheus Nunes. Now, he is playing in a Wolves side that is lacking creation, lacking a bit of drive and lacking a bit of spark. However, it doesn't not really have an effect on what he's like as a player. I actually liken a lot of his runs to the way that Kevin De Bruyne really picks up the ball. He drives, picks up and then drives through midfield to make sure that the transition is on. However, due to unrelated circumstances or extenuating circumstances, Wolverhampton Wanderers were not able to profit from that more often than not. But it still does show that he has the ability to pick up the balls from deep and then make sure that he can drive forwards with the ball. He drives very much like Kevin De Bruyne, and I'm extremely extremely impressed with the way he plays. In only the first Premier League match of the season against Manchester United, he was seen bypassing a couple of players and then driving through midfield himself. He's got very good technical ability. He can be in 1v1 situations. He's got extremely good progressive carries for a player of his ilk. He can also receive passes further up the pitch. His received passes are actually incredible. And then when you think about the way he could set up in this Manchester City team, very much like their three at the back, Kanji coming into midfield, creating that box formation, I think he would fit in absolutely seamlessly. Look at that box. Matheus Nunes will be able to pick up these pockets of space to be able to drift in to the major portions of the pitch to make sure that Grealish has an option, to make sure Haaland has an option, but also to be able to recycle possession. He's very good at retaining the ball. His ball retention is extremely high, and then when you consider the drifting nature of a Manchester City midfielder, I think he's got that as well. An unlocking potential in this Manchester City side for a player like Matheus Nunes might be able to transform him into something completely different. A lot is being asked of him at Wolverhampton Wanderers, and honestly I'm not sure that the coaches there know how to use him or to be able to get the best out of him. But in that transitional play, like we saw in the first game against Manchester United, and very much like we see Kevin De Bruyne do on numerous occasions, the driving run through the heart of midfield is yet a different aspect that Manchester City could utilise to make them that little bit better. It's a small fact, but something that I think has an incredible weight and impact on a game. And when Manchester City are holding out with a 1-1 or a 2-1, which will happen at some point in the season, they'll need an X factor. Matheus Nunes just might be that. But let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you believe Matheus Nunes will affect this Manchester City side? And do you see him being a major creative linchpin for the current Premier League champions? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, take care.